I hope that you're staying safe and healthy during this uncertain time. I would like to also thank Ryan for having me, and thank you, Andrew, for that presentation. I'm the founder and owner of Walker Law, commercial litigation firm, and I'm a trial lawyer, but I really try to help people resolve their disputes. And I also appear periodically on a few television stations such as CTV, CBC, and CP24. We're going to send an email to you after this presentation. And I just want you to keep in mind that we have partnered up with a charity called Renewed Computer Technology. And what that charity does is collect used items such as computers, laptops, and phones, and donates them to children who are in need. Many children need this technology now because they're learning from home, and who knows when they'll be back in school. And in the Black community, the need is quite high. So if there's anything that you have that's kind of just laying around your home that you're not using, please contact me afterwards, and we can arrange to get that from you and donate that to Renewed Computer Technology. Also, if we're going to ask you to fill out just a brief survey, it's about takes 3 minutes of your time. It's just for us to be able to improve. We're doing webinars quite often now in comparison to a few months ago. And so if there's anything that you like to see or not see, if you decide to join us for any other webinars in the future, I greatly would appreciate that. And to thank you for your time, we'll send you a gift card. It's a Starbucks gift card. It looks like this. It says Walker Law on it. It's not a business card, it's a gift card. So do not throw it away. You could actually buy coffee with it. And thank you, Anne. I'm glad that you love it. And then
I know I want some of those. How do you?
Yeah, so fill out the survey afterwards, and I'll
no, but to give away,
right
like,
yeah,
like
we're giving away just for filling out the survey, but just don't fill out your address. Actually, fill out some of the comments
yes.
so we can improve. And so just to let you know, because we're doing webinars quite often. Next week, I'm doing a webinar for the Black Business Professional Association on negotiating contracts. We spoke a little bit about that earlier. Now I'll be speaking about that next week for about an hour because it's a really hot topic. People really want to understand how to negotiate a contract, especially one they've already signed. We'll be speaking about property law on June 24th and then employment law on July the 9th. The law is changing like every day, and we actually circulate an internal spreadsheet. So it's a good way for you to keep on top of the law without actually having to watch the 3 speeches by the provincial, municipal, and federal government every day. So just my roadmap for today is I'm just going to explain briefly what litigation law is, and then I'll pause and answer any questions you may have. And then after that, I'll speak about what may happen to you if you fail to structure yourself properly. So Andrea told you what you need to do to structure yourself. And so I will talk a little bit about what happens if you don't. So first of all, what is litigation law? Those are my robes. I miss wearing them so much because I haven't been in court since February, but I have argued on the phone or by video conference. And so litigation is, when you hear the word litigation, here are a few things that come to mind. It's someone saying you owe me money, or you're saying that person owes money to you. It's also preventing, Andrea mentioned your intellectual property, preventing the copying of your designs. If you have, a classic example is an Apple Macintosh computer, you manufacture your own that has a pair that looks similar to that Apple, by all means, Apple will be bringing you to court to get an order from a judge for you to stop producing something that looks like theirs. Third, it's resolving partnership or shareholder disputes. Shareholders sometimes believe companies are not being run properly or want to exit the company and want to be paid a certain amount. And so if they can't be resolved between the shareholders or the company, then a judge will have to make a decision. Same thing with a partnership. And also land. People don't realize land disputes are dealt with quite a bit in court. I specialize in property, employment, and contract disputes. And so we deal with people who both of you may have title in land, and you want to get out of it. You don't want your name on that title anymore, and the other person won't sign the paperwork. So a judge will make that order for it to be sold. So that's what litigation law is. And before I go on to what happens when you fail to structure your business properly, are there any questions? Or else I'll just continue. Okay, I'll continue. So one thing is that these are the mistakes I see when it comes to me and people are arguing or fighting over this. These are the top three things I wonder, why didn't they do this properly, or why wasn't this documented? Number one, what happens when you fail to structure your business properly? Um, people don't understand the differences between incorporation and sole proprietorship, right? So somebody comes to me and they say, Tanya, I was told that I might be sued, but I have a business. And the first question I ask is it incorporated? No, it's not. That means you can be sued personally. So what does that mean? Anything that's in your name is subject to be taken away from you. So if you sign a contract, and I just signed a contract, Tanya Walker, in my personal capacity, someone sues me, they win, they get to do quite a bit to try and collect their money. They can sell your home, they can cash out your RSPs, they can garnish funds in your bank account. One day you just go to withdraw money and the money's frozen because those have been garnished. So people don't necessarily understand that. They don't understand the business relationship. And sometimes, so when they come to me, I wonder to myself, why didn't you just incorporate? And so that's a problem. Another problem that I see is oral contracts. People sign by shaking hands and they don't have anything to prove what they've agreed to. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm stuck with many sheets of paper trying to carve out or explain to a judge what your contract was. And it costs more money, it costs more time, and it's a huge mistake that people make. And it really makes more sense to me to hire someone like Andrea to help you get your ducks in a row before you start the business. A third problem that I see that's huge is that people do not read contracts before they sign them. And so what happens is you want to rent a commercial space, the landlord gives you a contract, you just sign it. You don't even know what you're signing. And so what happens, I've seen quite a bit in the last year, the tenants don't even get the keys. They say to the landlord, you know what, I decided not to go ahead with this. I don't want this property anymore. The landlord then sues that person for the remainder of the time left on the contract, sometimes 5 years, 5 years of rent for you to pay where you didn't even have the keys. And then I realized the person has also signed an extra line. So they signed on behalf of a corporation, but they also signed a personal guarantee. So they can be sued personally, and their company can be sued for something that they didn't even enjoy the benefits of. And so next thing you know, someone's losing their home, monies are garnished, your wages are kind of frozen because a person did not read the contract before signing them. And if you read it and you appreciate it, you probably will negotiate and say, listen, I don't want a personal guarantee. Or if I'm going to give a personal guarantee, maybe it's 10% of whatever's due, not 100%. So those are three huge problems that I see when people when people end up hiring me as a litigator. So what happens if you fail to structure your lawsuit options? I mentioned earlier, request a settlement meeting. Always try to settle. The court system is based on settling. So even when you sue somebody and they respond, you are required to attend a settlement meeting, whether it's small claims court or superior court. Small claims is less than $35,000 involved in the lawsuit. There's always a settlement meeting. There's even sometimes settlement meetings right before your trial. Sometimes my trial starts on Monday. I get a call from the court on Friday. I'm going to attend another settlement meeting with a judge. Consider using a mediator. Sometimes you may need one if your lawsuit is filed in Toronto. Mediation is mandatory. A mediator is a third party that you select to try and help you settle. Be prepared for the settlement or mediation. Think about what you want, what you're willing to give, what you're willing to bend on. So then you're not making a decision based only on stress that you will regret later. And what should businesses do when they anticipate a lawsuit? Keep in mind that you cannot go back on a promise that you made in the settlement agreement. That is also a contract. So if you do have a settlement meeting, you do sign an agreement, you can't go back on it without there being consequences. Think about legal costs if you decide to settle. And if you also settle, you should sign this document called the release. That means you're not going to sue me and I'm not going to sue you for these issues that we've already dealt with. Because what's the point of settling if someone goes and sues you for what you just settled on? So that's a bit of a summary of litigation, and the mistakes that I see when people don't have their documentation prepared, and why they end up in court and why they end up spending so much money. And the risks are huge. You can lose your house. You can lose investments, things you've saved your entire life for. So it's really should be taken seriously. And that's my summary of litigation for today.